This will not stop. The Toronto Raptors have had a ton of roster turnover over just the past year, and according to Adrian Wojnaroski, the trends across the league indicate that more moves are going to be coming in the NBA and likely for the Toronto Raptors as well. Given the trends, given how everything is sort of set up for Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster to reconstruct this roster over this offseason. We'll also take a look at some of the quotes that they've said in the past, because it seems like the Raptors aren't even close to seeing what this roster will fully be entering next season. So we'll break all of that down, including an update to Team Canada, as there's some moves around and some concerns. We might be losing our head coach, Jordi Fernandez, and I want to give some love to Pascal Siakam, who had a monster start to the playoffs. So lots of stuff to sink our teeth into, but before we dive into that, folks, again, over 51% of our viewers are not subscribed, and we want to keep you up to date with everything happening around this Toronto Raptors team. So it mean the world to me if you guys could hit that subscribe button. But let's dive into what's going on, because it will not stop, folks. This team, this Raptors group, we know it's a work in progress. You can't look at the end of this year and say, hey, that's a complete team, even though we seemingly have our core. We have our main triad of guys that are going to really come out and be the building blocks to, prop up this roster for the future. We'll see how the NBA draft lottery and all that stuff shakes out. Maybe we get another sort of Raptors core group player in this year's NBA draft. But currently, as constructed, we got our top guys likely in, those Pascal and OG Anunoby trades, but more moves are likely to come, as Adrian Wojnarowski dropped a little bit of a sneaky bomb out there on ESPN TV, basically revealing that it's going to be a different summer in the NBA. I think there are going to be a lot of guys entering the NBA portal, and I think there's going to be a lot more player movement this summer. Now this is interesting, because last summer it was a little bit underwhelming in terms of free agency, in terms of players getting moved. There were definitely some bigger transactions and stuff like that. Even amongst the Raptors, we lost Fred VanVleet, we re-signed Gary, we re-signed Pirtle. There were some moves that had to be made, but last season was a bit underwhelming in terms of the class of players that were out there on the market and the guys that inevitably ended up getting traded. Obviously, as any offseason happens, there's always big moves that end up going down, but the Raptors didn't have a massive opportunity to shake up the roster. It didn't seem like there was a real window for them to make a big-time move. I guess Damian Lillard and we almost got into those sweepstakes. We got to the point where Shams even tweeted the Raptors acquired Damian Lillard, posting the wrong drafted tweet. So, that was the big one the Raptors could have made. But basically, even though we're not in the position to make a big Damian Lillard-esque trade, one of those giant swings this year, the Raptors are set up to be making a ton of moves and have some roster turnover, because we can look at our free agents, and we've looked at this, over the course of the season. Kelly Olynyk is extended, so he's not the free agent guy there. But Bruce Brown, decisions have to be made about him on draft night. Gary Trent Jr. is an unrestricted free agent. We're not sure if he's going to be the Masai Ujiri is going to be willing to pay him the big bucks come in the offseason. And then we have a lot of dudes on team options on these sort of expiring deals where the Raptors can let them walk, we can bring them back in, and Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri have said it's not going to be right now, as currently constructed, one major move that changes everything for the Toronto Raptors. It's going to be 5, 10 moves around the edges, chess moves that all build up, amalgamate into something that works out really well for this Toronto Raptors team. And the good thing about this, with the number of players that are entering free agency, as Woj mentioned, the willingness for different teams to potentially make some moves, make some trades, that's perfectly set up for where the Toronto Raptors are at right now. And you can also look at it like the Raptors roster. We have a couple guys that will be on expirings next year, particularly Chris Boucher is an interesting piece. Jalen McDaniels is a guy that has a contract that, paired with Boucher, we could really get an interesting player back in a potential deal. And Jakob Poeltl is also a piece that's on a reasonable tradable contract. Bruce Brown is also one of those guys if we pick up that team option. But those are all players with reasonable, flexible contracts that could provide value to some other organizations, to some other teams, and allow the Raptors to facilitate a different trade, a different type of move over the course of this offseason to, again, help propel this team to the future, the present, wherever Masai Ujiri sort of expects this group to end up being at. He has the tools, he has the assets, he has the flexibility to go into an offseason where Woj has directly said it. There's going to be a lot more player movement this summer. He has the flexibility to bring in the right guys. So everyone that was up in arms about the moves that were made at the trade deadline, I think you'd be crazy to say anything about the New York Knicks one. I think that was a great deal for the Toronto Raptors. Maybe if you kept Precious Achiuwa, it would have been nice because his value wasn't that high. But I digress. Getting Emmanuel quickly and RJ Barrett was awesome. The Pascal Siakam one, that was made to generate this flexibility for the Toronto Raptors in this offseason. So basically, Masai Ujiri, the world is at his fingertips. He can mold this team into whatever he sort of wants to, and hopefully things work out to a point where we make this rebuild. Again, we don't want to rush it, but if we can speed it up, if we can get some players, good young players fast, I'm all for that. So it's going to be a fun offseason. Definitely we'll be tuned into all the latest stuff that's going on regarding the Toronto Raptors, about potential moves, potential deals this offseason. But one thing this summer, which should get not Raptors fans, maybe Raptors fans, but Canadian fans in general excited, is Team Canada. We have a major Team Canada update because Jordi Fernandez, who's a guy that was highly regarded as a potential Toronto Raptors head coach. Obviously, we ended up hiring Darko Rajakovic, but Jordi Fernandez is a guy that was an assistant coach of the Sacramento Kings that is a well regarded name, and he ended up coaching Team Canada, did a great job with that team in the qualifiers last year, but there were concerns. Now, congratulations to him. He did become the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, but once he got that job with Brooklyn, he might not still be able to fulfill his duties as Team Canada's head coach, similar to Nick Nurse, who, again, became the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. He said he was still committed to this Team Canada team, but obviously ended up stepping down. Wasn't able to do it. I think there was something in the organization. I'm not sure what specifically was the reason he gave, even though he said he would commit when he hired that job. It is what it is. Jordi Fernandez, there was concerns maybe that could happen with him as well after getting the job with the Brooklyn Nets. Well, seems like we don't have to worry about that too much, because that would suck, 90 days ahead of the Paris Olympics, big Olympics in Canadian history. Basically, Team Canada made a report, came out, this coming from Rowan Barrett, saying, Team Canada basketball is excited that our senior men's national team head coach, Jordi Fernandez, has been hired by the Brooklyn Nets as their next head coach. This is a great opportunity for Jordi, and his family have worked long to achieve, and he deserves the trust the Brooklyn Nets are showing him. We've been working closely with both Jordi and the Nets throughout the process, and we can confirm that Jordi Fernandez will remain as our coach for this summer at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. We look to build on the success we had last summer at the FIBA Men's Basketball World Cup. So not qualifiers, but ended up qualifying them for the Olympics. But Jordi Fernandez is back, and that's huge because, again, having a bunch of coaches, I know the team changes, we're not sure about the roster, and but having multiple head coaches season after season, any bit of chemistry kind of built up kind of sucks. They've been building this sort of 3-year plan, which became, I guess, a 2-year plan when Jordi Fernandez got brought in last year, but basically it's been a bit tumultuous anyways, and we have a good coach in place at the helm right now, so to lose him so close to the Olympic Games, that would just suck for this team. So the fact that he's going to be around, he's going to be able to coach this group of Shea, hopefully Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett, all these types of guys, to go up against, this is an Olympics we can win. We can do it. I know the U.S. is stacked and all that, and the front line especially. The Raptors might be Team Canada might be in a tough position, but frankly, I believe in Team Canada with Shea. With the star power that we got, who knows? Might be able to shock everyone, but basically, to have Jordi at the head coaching realm is great. It's key. But the last thing I want to take a look at, the last thing I want to discuss, is putting some respect onto Pascal Siakam's name. Because frankly, this man took some heat. Took some hate. Seems like the fan base has turned around on him after he got traded, back to where he should be. He's one of the greatest Toronto Raptors of all time. I'm still disappointed in kind of the return that we got. But again, as I said at the beginning of the video, until we see what Masai Ujiri does with the flexibility, I won't bash on the trade too much. But Pascal Siakam, even though they lost, was a monster in the Game 1 of the NBA playoffs for the Indiana Pacers. In his first game, first playoff game for Indiana, had 36 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. Didn't get much help from his teammates, but 15 to 25 shooting from the field. I just wanted to make this and put some respect onto Pascal Siakam's name. But folks, let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors news, Team Canada news, Indiana Pacers news. But you guys are the best to make it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. If you're interested in playoff basketball, you're following another team. I mean, we got Knicks, we got Sixers, we got Heat Digest, we got Celtics Digest, we got Marcel on Mavs Digest. I mean, if you're looking for some basketball coverage across the league, check out what we got going here at Digest Media. But folks, you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.